The soul is not the body we see, nor the name by which the world calls us. It is a vast ocean, hidden beneath the surface of our ordinary life. Ibn Arabi reminds us that within every soul there lies a secret, a divine spark, a hidden treasure placed by the Creator before time itself. This treasure is not found in wealth, power, or status, but in the unveiling of the heart's true light. In this journey, we walk with Ibn Arabi to uncover that mystery, to seek the secret of the soul, and to discover the hidden treasure within. The world of appearances is like a mirror, polished to reflect only fragments of reality. What the eye perceives is not the fullness of truth, but a layer of it. Ibn Arabi reminds us that behind every form lies a secret, a hidden essence, veiled from ordinary sight. The veil is not a wall, but a curtain, woven from light and shadow, through which the soul is invited to look deeper. The veil does not belong only to the unseen, it also belongs to us. It is our thoughts, attachments, and habits that cloud the vision of the heart. What we call the world is, in truth, an appearance through which the unseen discloses itself. The wise do not reject the veil but learn to read through it, discovering the signs of the beloved hidden in every form. Every sunrise, every falling leaf, every breath is a veil and a revelation at once. To those who remain on the surface, it is only nature, only routine. But to the awakened heart, it is a message written by the hand of the unseen. Ibn Arabi teaches us that the veil is not an enemy, it is a teacher, guiding us toward the one who hides behind all appearances. The veil exists because the human soul is not ready to drink the full wine of truth at once. Just as the sun would blind an unprepared eye, the reality of the unseen would overwhelm the unready heart. Therefore, the veil is mercy. It softens the intensity of the light, allowing the soul to adjust, to gradually grow in its capacity to see. In moments of silence, the veil grows thinner. When the noise of the world fades and the heart turns inward, a subtle opening appears. In that moment, a person feels both here and beyond here, present in the body, yet touched by eternity. It is then that the unseen whispers, and the soul remembers what it has always known. The veil is also love. The beloved hides himself so that the seeker may search. Without the veil, there would be no longing, no path, no journey. Ibn Arabi tells us that the dance between the seen and the unseen is the very essence of life, a play of absence and presence, concealment and revelation, drawing the lover ever closer to the truth. For the mystic, every veil is an opportunity. Instead of cursing the distance between seen and unseen, he thanks the veil for its lessons. The veil teaches patience, deepens yearning, and sharpens vision. It reminds us that life itself is not the destination, but the road of passage through which the soul discovers its own hidden treasure. The veil is not removed by force, nor by reason alone. It yields only to surrender. When the heart bows in humility and love, when it accepts that it cannot grasp the infinite with the hand of the finite, the veil begins to part. What is revealed is not new, but what has always been the soul awakens to what it has carried all along. Behind the veil lies unity. The many faces of creation are but masks worn by the one. To see only separation is to be trapped by the veil. To perceive unity through diversity is to see with the eye of the heart. Ibn Arabi calls this the unveiling, kashf, the moment when the unseen discloses itself without disguise, and the heart recognizes its source. The veil is not meant to be destroyed. If it vanished completely, life as we know it would lose its meaning. The veil gives form to the formless, story to silence, and beauty to longing. In truth, the veil is a gift, for it allows the unseen to be experienced in ways the human soul can understand. Every heart carries its own veil, unique to its journey. For some, it is pride; for others, fear; for many, it is the illusion of control. The mystic path is not about tearing the veil apart, but about learning how to walk through it, until what once seemed solid becomes transparent, and what once seemed distant becomes near. The veil is both distance and nearness. It hides the beloved, yet through it the beloved shows himself. It is the mystery of presence in absence. Ibn Arabi says that the unseen is never truly hidden. It is present in every atom of creation. What blinds us is not the veil itself, but our inability to see that the veil is already transparent. To live with awareness of the veil is to live between worlds. One foot stands in the marketplace, amidst duties and distractions. The other foot stands in eternity, in remembrance and surrender. This balance is the true art of the seeker. To move through the seen without forgetting the unseen. To live in the world without being of the world. The veil also teaches humility. No matter how much knowledge we gain, the unseen remains greater still. Each unveiling only reveals another depth, another horizon beyond. The wise do not claim possession of truth. They bow before its vastness, knowing that the veil exists because the divine is infinite, and the human soul is forever expanding toward it. And so, the veil is not an obstacle, but a doorway. It invites us to see deeper, to listen closer, to live more awake. The seen and the unseen are not two worlds, but one reality, layered like light through glass. When the heart learns to look beyond appearances, the veil becomes thin, and the secret of the soul begins to shine, the hidden treasure waiting within. The heart is not merely an organ that beats within the body. It is the throne of mysteries, the place where heaven and earth meet. Ibn Arabi teaches that the heart, when purified, reflects realities beyond the grasp of reason. Just as a mirror reveals the face placed before it, so too the heart reveals the image of the divine when cleansed of rust and dust. A heart clouded by ego sees only fragments, distorted by the veil of self. But a heart emptied of pride and filled with remembrance becomes transparent. In such clarity, it no longer reflects personal desire, but becomes a window through which the beloved shines. The seeker's task is not to create the light, but to polish the mirror, so it may reflect what has always been there. When the heart turns inward in silence, it begins to remember its origin. It recalls the covenant made before time, when the souls were asked, asterisk, "Am I not your Lord?" Asterisk, and they replied, asterisk, "Yes, indeed." Asterisk, this remembrance is not intellectual but experiential, a sudden shining of truth upon the mirror of the heart. In that light, the soul knows its source. The mirror of the heart does not choose what it reflects. It simply shows what stands before it. If the heart is turned toward the world, it reflects shadows and illusions. If it is turned toward the divine, it reflects eternity itself. Ibn Arabi calls this the transformation of perception, where the eye of the heart begins to see with the vision of truth. The polishing of the heart is an act of love. Through prayer, remembrance, and surrender, the seeker wipes away the stains of heedlessness. Every act of sincerity removes a layer of dust, and every act of humility brightens the glass. Slowly, the mirror becomes so clear that the seeker can no longer distinguish between his reflection and the one reflected within. When the heart reflects the divine, the world itself changes. Mountains, rivers, and faces are no longer just forms, but signs, alive with meaning. A tree becomes a verse, the sky a scripture, and silence a revelation. This is the transformation Ibn Arabi speaks of, when the heart no longer sees things as separate, but as expressions of the one light. The mirror of the heart does not enlarge or diminish what it reflects. It simply bears witness. So too, the purified heart does not claim ownership of truth. It reflects without distortion. The mystic becomes a servant, a vessel through which divine qualities manifest: compassion, mercy, wisdom, and love. To see such a heart is to glimpse the face of the beloved, but this reflection is fragile. A single moment of arrogance, a single indulgence in heedlessness, can cloud the mirror once more. That is why the mystics live in constant remembrance. They polish not once, but daily, even hourly, knowing that the dust of the world settles quickly. In vigilance, the mirror remains clear, and the reflection remains true. The heart as a mirror also reveals the paradox of human existence. On one hand, we are limited, bound by body and time. On the other, we carry within us the capacity to reflect the infinite. Ibn Arabi says this is why the human being is called the time's microcosm. Time's a small universe in which the vastness of the divine is made visible. When the heart reflects the divine, it reflects not only beauty, but also majesty. Love, mercy, and tenderness are seen, but so too are power, awe, and justice. To truly be a mirror is to accept the fullness of divine qualities, not clinging only to those that comfort us. In this acceptance, the heart becomes whole, bearing witness to the richness of the real. The reflection in the heart is never the full reality. A mirror cannot contain the sun, though it may catch its light. In the same way, the heart reflects what it can bear, according to its readiness. Each seeker sees according to the clarity of their mirror, and so every path is unique, yet all reflections point back to the same source. When the heart becomes a mirror, the seeker no longer seeks, for what is sought is already reflected within. The distance between lover and beloved dissolves, and what remains is union, not of essence, but of vision. The heart sees no separation between itself and the light it reflects. This is the station of nearness, where the heart becomes both witness and witnessed. The world, too, is a mirror, reflecting the divine in countless forms. But, without a clear heart, one sees only the surface of things. The mystic learns to align the heart with the world, so that both inner and outer mirrors reflect the same truth. In this harmony, the seen and unseen merge, and existence becomes a single shining face. The mirror of the heart does not make the divine more visible, it makes us more receptive. The sun shines whether the mirror exists or not. The task is not to summon the sun, but to polish the mirror so its light may enter. Thus, the work of the seeker is not to change God, but to transform the self, until the self becomes transparent. And when the polishing is complete, the mirror disappears. The heart no longer says, I or mine. It simply reflects, silent and clear. In this silence, Ibn Arabi tells us, the human being fulfills their purpose, to be the mirror in which the divine contemplates himself. For in the end, the heart's secret is this: it was never our mirror, but his, shining through us all along. The soul speaks in a language no tongue can carry and no script can record. It communicates through silence, through subtle currents of longing and remembrance. When the heart grows still, it begins to hear that hidden speech, not in sounds, but in presence. This is the language of the soul, a conversation between the finite and the infinite, a dialogue that bypasses reason and flows directly into being. Words divide, but the language of the soul unites. While speech separates thought into fragments, the inner language gathers them back into wholeness. In a glance, in a sigh, in the trembling of the heart, the soul conveys truths that volumes of books could never capture. Ibn Arabi teaches that every soul understands this language because it is written into its very origin. The language of the soul is older than time. Before the body was formed, before the world unfolded, the soul stood in the presence of the beloved and responded to his call. That exchange did not require words. It required only recognition. This ancient remembrance lives within us still, and whenever we are touched by awe, love, or wonder, we are hearing echoes of that primordial dialogue. The language of the soul cannot be forced. It does not appear through argument or debate, nor can it be demanded by the intellect. It comes like fragrance, carried by the wind, unseen, yet unmistakable. The seeker must prepare the heart with humility, for only in quiet openness does the soul reveal its secret voice. Every true act of love is an expression of the soul's language. When one heart comforts another, when compassion rises unbidden, when eyes shine with tears at the beauty of creation, the soul is speaking. It does not need vocabulary, it needs sincerity. In this way, the language of the soul is both universal and intimate, understood by all who are willing to listen. The prophets and saints did not speak only with their mouths. Their very presence was a speech, a radiance that stirred hearts without a single word. This is the highest form of the soul's language, to transmit truth through being itself. Ibn Arabi describes such souls as polished lamps, shining not for themselves, but for those who sit in their light. Poetry often comes closest to this hidden language, for poetry bends words until they break, allowing silence to spill through. Music, too, carries hints of it, for its rhythms and melodies bypass reason and awaken memory. Yet even poetry and music are but shadows. The soul's true speech arises beyond form, a pure recognition between lover and beloved. The language of the soul does not flatter the ego. It speaks in whispers that unsettle comfort, urging us to look deeper than appearances. Sometimes it speaks through longing that refuses to fade, sometimes through sorrow that softens the heart, sometimes through joy that bursts without reason. Each of these is a syllable in the soul's endless song. Silence is its truest form. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence that overflows with meaning. In moments of deep stillness, the heart feels itself spoken to without a sound. That silence is more eloquent than all speeches, for it is the silence where the divine converses with the soul directly. The language of the soul is also the language of creation. Every star, every river, every grain of sand is part of it. The universe is a vast scripture, written without letters, in which every creature is a word. To listen with the soul is to hear this cosmic recitation, where all things proclaim the presence of the one who sustains them. This hidden language does not pass away with time. It lingers even when words are forgotten and memories fade. It is the reason a single look can awaken the heart, the reason a dream can change a life, the reason beauty moves us to tears without explanation. These are reminders that the soul is always speaking, even when the mind cannot interpret. In the language of the soul, opposites meet. Joy and sorrow, hope and despair, presence and absence all merge into one voice. What seems contradictory in words becomes harmonious in the soul's speech. This is why mystics often sound paradoxical, for they are trying to express what belongs to a realm beyond contradiction. Every heart carries an alphabet of the unseen, though few ever learn to read it. The letters are experiences, the ink is longing, and the paper is the soul itself. Through devotion, patience, and remembrance, these letters arrange themselves into meaning, and the soul begins to read its own story as written by the divine. When the soul speaks, it awakens resonance in others. The hidden language travels from heart to heart, bypassing barriers of culture and tongue. This is why people across ages and lands are moved by the same truths, even if spoken in different forms. The soul recognizes itself in the speech of another soul, for the source of the language is one. The language of the soul is the bridge between seen and unseen, between human and divine. It cannot be captured fully by the mind, yet it can be lived. To listen is to open, to feel is to understand, and to surrender is to respond. When we let the soul speak, we join an eternal conversation, the dialogue of the beloved with his creation, whispered in silence and carried in light. Darkness is often feared as emptiness, but in truth, it is a cloak that conceals treasures unseen. Ibn Arabi reminds us that the night is not the absence of light, but the womb in which light is born. Just as the seed must be buried before it can sprout, the soul must pass through veils of shadow to awaken its inner radiance. Darkness, then, is not a prison, but a passage. Within every hardship lies a spark waiting to be revealed. The sorrow that bends the heart often becomes the opening through which divine compassion enters. Pain itself can be the lantern that guides us home, for it strips away illusions and reveals what endures. In the darkest moments of life, the soul learns that light is not destroyed but hidden, waiting to be unveiled. The cosmos itself was born from darkness. Before creation unfolded, there was the unseen depth, silent and vast. From that mystery, light emerged, scattering into countless forms. The same pattern lives within the human heart. What appears as emptiness or despair is often the very condition for revelation. The hidden light is not lost. It is waiting to shine through. The mystic understands that light without darkness cannot be known. If all were luminous, there would be no contrast, no discovery, no longing. The alternation of day and night, joy and sorrow, clarity and confusion, is part of the divine rhythm. By walking through darkness, we learn to recognize the light more deeply, to value its brilliance when it dawns upon us. Darkness is also a veil of protection. Just as the sun hides itself at night to give rest to the earth, the divine sometimes cloaks his presence to protect the soul from being overwhelmed. The withdrawal of light is not abandonment but mercy, a chance for the heart to grow stronger, to refine its yearning, to prepare itself for a brighter unveiling. When the seeker faces darkness, fear often arises. But Ibn Arabi teaches that fear itself can be a doorway. The trembling of the soul in the unknown is a sign that something greater is near. Beyond the fear lies trust, and beyond trust lies vision. To walk into darkness with faith is to discover that it was never empty, but filled with hidden stars. The hidden light is not always sudden. Sometimes it reveals itself gradually. Like the first light of dawn spreading across the horizon, revelation often comes softly, expanding little by little. Patience is required, for the soul must learn to walk slowly in the twilight before it can stand fully in the radiance of day. There are moments when darkness becomes so deep that the heart despairs of light altogether. Yet it is often at that very edge, when hope seems extinguished, that the hidden treasure is unveiled. This is the mystery of divine mercy. When the soul feels furthest from light, the beloved often draws nearest, unveiling himself in ways the mind could never predict. The mystics speak of the black light, a paradox that defies reason. It is the brilliance so intense that to the unprepared eye, it appears as darkness. Just as the night sky hides countless stars invisible until one gazes long enough, the black light hides a radiance too subtle to be seen by the restless heart. Only stillness unveils it. Darkness is not only around us, it is within. The unexamined parts of our being, the forgotten wounds, the unspoken fears, all are inner nights. To unveil the hidden light is to enter these regions without denial, to allow awareness and compassion to shine upon them. In this way, even the most painful corners of the self become illuminated by divine presence. The prophets often encountered darkness before their mission began. Solitude in caves, nights of despair, moments of silence, all were preparations. Their inner light was strengthened in the unseen, so that it could shine outward to the world. Likewise, our own dark nights are often preparations for greater openings, shaping us into vessels of clarity. Every shadow in creation is a sign of the hidden light. A tree's shade reveals the sun, just as suffering reveals compassion. The mystic learns not to curse shadows, but to follow them back to their source. By tracing the contours of darkness, the soul discovers the brightness from which it flows. In relationships, too, the light is hidden in what appears difficult. Conflict can unveil patience, loss can reveal gratitude, and betrayal can awaken forgiveness. Without these experiences, the qualities of the soul remain dormant, unseen. Darkness becomes the mirror in which our deepest capacities are unveiled, allowing us to reflect the divine more completely. Unveiling the light hidden in darkness is not about erasing the night, but embracing it. The mystic walks with both day and night, seeing in each the face of the beloved. For the one who creates light also creates darkness, and both are woven together as signs. To reject darkness is to reject half of the truth. To unveil light within it is to embrace the whole. At the end of the journey, the seeker realizes that darkness itself was never separate from light. It was a garment, a disguise, a secret form of radiance. In unveiling the hidden light, the soul awakens to unity, where night and day, shadow and sun, concealment and revelation are all expressions of the one. And in that unveiling, the soul shines with the brilliance it once sought outside itself. Life often begins with shadows mistaken for truth. The senses gather forms, and the mind builds stories, but these are only reflections, not the essence itself. Ibn Arabi teaches that illusion is not falsehood alone. It is truth in disguise, clothed in garments we mistake for finality. To live only on the surface is to walk among mirages, never tasting the water hidden beneath. Illusion arises because the heart forgets. It clings to names, shapes, and fleeting appearances, imagining permanence where there is only passage. Wealth, fame, and desire seem solid, yet they dissolve like mist when dawn comes. The soul's task is to discern between what fades and what endures, to pierce the veil and discover the ground of reality that does not perish. The journey begins when longing awakens. A subtle unease stirs within the heart, a recognition that the world's promises are never enough. This longing is the first crack in illusion, the whisper that reality lies elsewhere. It is not an escape from life, but a deeper entry into it, an invitation to look beneath appearances and seek the hidden source. The mystic does not reject the world, but reads it differently. Every form, however fleeting, is a sign pointing to the real. The mistake is not that forms exist, but that we stop at them. Like children distracted by the wrapping, we forget the treasure within. To move from illusion to reality is to learn to read creation as a book, each page filled with meanings from the unseen. Illusion often resists exposure. The ego defends its comforts, fearing the loss of control. But the fire of truth is patient. It burns away attachments, leaving the soul stripped but free. This burning is not cruelty, it is purification. In every loss, in every disillusionment, the beloved is removing the false to reveal what has always been true. Reality does not arrive as new, it was there from the beginning. It is like the sun behind clouds, hidden but never absent. When the clouds of illusion part, the seeker realizes that reality was never distant. The journey is not toward something far away, but toward what has always been within, waiting to be recognized. The shift from illusion to reality often feels like waking from a dream. At first, the dream seemed convincing, filled with urgency and meaning. But once awake, the dream is seen for what it was, a reflection, not the essence. Yet the dream was not useless, for it prepared the heart to appreciate the clarity of waking. In the same way, illusion can prepare the soul for truth. Illusion is not entirely false. It is a half-truth. It points toward reality, but disguises itself in transient forms. The wise do not despise illusions. They learn from them. A mirage reveals the thirst for water, and in that thirst is the key to finding the real spring. In every illusion lies a sign, a lesson that pushes the seeker closer to reality. The journey requires courage, for letting go of illusions feels like dying. The old self, built on shadows, must dissolve to make space for what is real. Ibn Arabi calls this the death before death, the surrender of what is unreal, so that the eternal can shine through. Only by dying to illusion does the soul awaken to the fullness of life. Reality reveals itself in layers. First, the seeker sees that the world is impermanent. Then, that behind impermanence lies unity. Finally, that even unity is not separate from multiplicity, but the same light refracted in countless forms. The journey is not from one place to another, but from misunderstanding to clarity, from blindness to vision. Illusion often returns, for the human heart is forgetful. Yet each unveiling leaves a trace, a memory of the real that cannot be erased. Even when the world's distractions rise again, the soul remembers the taste of truth. This memory is enough to keep the journey alive, pulling the seeker forward, no matter how many times he stumbles. The path from illusion to reality is not straight. It bends through trials, descends into valleys of doubt, and rises onto peaks of certainty. Each stage teaches something new, and each misstep refines the vision. The important thing is not speed, but sincerity. The one who walks honestly, even slowly, will reach the truth more surely than the one who rushes without depth. Reality is not reached by intellect alone. The mind can point the way, but only the heart can cross the threshold. Love is the force that carries the soul beyond illusion. For in love, the ego loosens its grip, and the heart opens to what cannot be reasoned or defined. Reality is not an idea, but a presence, tasted only through surrender. When the soul reaches reality, the world is not abandoned, but transformed. The same faces, the same sky, the same earth are seen anew. What once seemed empty now glows with meaning. Every form reflects the real. Every sound echoes his voice. Every moment becomes a meeting with the beloved. The world has not changed. Perception has. The journey from illusion to reality is the journey home. The soul returns to what it has always been, to the ground of being from which it never truly departed. Illusion was the exile, reality is the return. And when the heart awakens fully, it sees that even the illusions were part of the real shadows cast only so the brilliance of light could be known. Breath is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the thread that binds body and spirit. Each inhale carries the gift of life, each exhale a surrender back to the source. Ibn Arabi speaks of the divine breath that sustains all creation, a ceaseless flow in which every being participates. To breathe consciously is to touch the rhythm of eternity within the rhythm of time. The soul itself is carried on the breath. It is not merely air entering the lungs, but a sacred current flowing from the infinite into the finite. With each breath, we are reminded, we do not live by ourselves, but through the one who breathes us into being. The breath is both our dependence and our freedom, for in it the beloved draws nearer than the beating of the heart. The breath of the infinite is the first revelation. Before words were spoken, before scripture descended, there was the silent utterance of breath. Creation itself is described as the exhalation of the divine, a sigh of love that called the universe from nothing into being. When we breathe, we echo that primordial act, each inhale and exhale a remembrance of our origin. To the mystic, the breath is a prayer. It is the remembrance that requires no tongue, no ritual, no sound. Every inhale becomes, He gives, and every exhale becomes, I return. In this rhythm, the heart learns to align with the eternal circulation of giving and receiving. Life itself becomes an act of worship when lived through conscious breath. The breath reveals the nearness of the infinite. We seek God in distant heavens, yet He is present in every breath we take. Ibn Arabi says, the real is closer than our jugular vein, and indeed, closer than the very air filling our chest. The mystery of the infinite is not far away, but flowing ceaselessly within, as natural and intimate as breathing. When the heart is burdened, breath becomes heavy, and when it is free, breath becomes light. This is not only physical, but spiritual. The breath mirrors the state of the soul. Constriction reflects distance, while expansion reflects nearness. By observing the breath, the seeker learns to observe the soul, recognizing in its rhythm the signs of hidden truths. Breath is also the teacher of presence. It cannot be stored or held indefinitely. It can only be lived moment by moment. In this way, the breath draws us into the now, into the eternal present, where the divine is always encountered. Every inhale is new, every exhale a letting go. To live with awareness of breath is to live with awareness of God. The mystics often practiced remembrance through breath. With each inhale, they invoked the divine name, and with each exhale, they released all else. In this rhythm, the soul became a vessel for the infinite, until nothing remained but the beloved's presence. Breath itself became dhikr, a ceaseless prayer, carried not by voice, but by life itself. The breath of the infinite flows not only through humans, but through all creation. The wind across the desert, the tide of the ocean, the rustling of leaves, all are breaths of the cosmos, exhalations of the same source. To listen deeply is to hear the universe breathing with us, a symphony of existence carried on the breath of the beloved. Every newborn's first cry is a reminder of this truth. Life enters with breath, and when breath departs, life departs. Between these two thresholds, we are sustained by the unseen. To recognize this is to live in humility, knowing that every breath is not our possession but a gift, freely given and freely taken, moment by moment. Breath is also a healer. When fear or grief overwhelms, a deep breath brings balance. The body calms and the heart steadies. But more than that, the mystic sees healing in breath because it reconnects us with the source. Every breath becomes an infusion of divine mercy, reminding us that we are never abandoned, always carried in the flow of the infinite. The breath of the infinite is without beginning or end. It circulates through creation in endless renewal. Even when one life ends, the breath continues in others, as if to say that existence itself never ceases. The mystic feels this continuity and learns that death is not an end but a return, an exhalation back into the embrace of the beloved. Silence reveals the depth of breath. In stillness, when words fade and the world quiets, the soul becomes attentive to its own breathing. That soundless rhythm is a remembrance of the eternal dialogue between creator and creation. Every rise and fall of breath becomes a verse in the hidden scripture, inscribed not in ink but in the living body. The breath of the infinite is not something we control, but something we receive. The ego imagines ownership, yet the truth is otherwise. Just as we cannot command the sun to rise, we cannot command the breath to continue. It is gift alone. To realize this is to surrender, to live every breath as gratitude, every exhale as trust. The breath teaches us our true nature. We are not isolated beings, but currents in the great ocean of divine life. The infinite breathes through us, and we breathe back into the infinite. To awaken to this is to dissolve the illusion of separation, to know that every breath is the beloved whispering, asterisk, I am with you, within you, sustaining you always. Asterisk. The soul often searches for treasures in distant lands, imagining that fulfillment lies far from home. Yet, Ibn Arabi reminds us that what we seek is hidden in plain sight, woven into the ordinary fabric of life. The real journey is not measured in miles, but in awareness, for the treasure lies within the heart that learns how to see. The world disguises its treasures in the most unlikely forms. A moment of sorrow, a chance encounter, a fleeting word, each can carry the spark of revelation. What appears trivial to the distracted eye can become luminous to the awakened heart. The beloved often hides himself in the overlooked, so that only those who look deeply may discover him. Many spend their lives searching in palaces, while the jewel rests in their own chest. The mystic turns inward and discovers that the wealth of the soul exceeds every possession of the world. What we thought was absence becomes fullness, and what we thought was emptiness reveals itself as overflowing light. The treasure is not hidden from us, but hidden within us. The seeker imagines the path to truth will be marked with grandeur. Yet often it is the simple and the humble that hold the key. A kind smile, a child's laughter, a moment of silence. These are the signs where treasure lies. Ibn Arabi teaches that the real loves to be found in the unexpected, in places where pride would never think to look. Difficulty itself can be a treasure. Loss unveils gratitude, loneliness awakens intimacy with the divine, and hardship polishes the mirror of the heart. When life strips us bare, we discover that what remains cannot be taken away. In the ruins of illusion, the hidden jewel shines brightest, for the heart is most receptive when it has been broken open. The treasure is not always a reward but a recognition. It is not given as something new but unveiled as what has always been present. The mystic learns that every step of the journey is already treasure, even when disguised as dust. By embracing each moment as meaningful, the seeker finds wealth where the ordinary soul sees only emptiness. Sometimes the treasure lies in the one we least value. A stranger may speak words that transform us, or an enemy may teach us patience more deeply than a friend ever could. The heart expands when it recognizes the beloved shining through all faces, even those we resist. In such encounters, the soul finds the treasure of compassion and unity. The path itself becomes treasure when walked with awareness. Each breath, each act, each moment is filled with divine presence. if only the heart is open. Ibn Arabi tells us that there is no step in creation where God is absent. To realize this is to find the hidden jewel in every stone, the treasure in every step of the path. The treasure is not always found in light, but also in shadow. What we try to avoid may contain the very key we seek. Fear teaches courage, silence teaches expression, and longing teaches fulfillment. The paradox of the path is that the greatest treasures are often hidden in the very places we refuse to look. The seeker's mistake is to demand the treasure on his own terms. The real unveils it when the time is ripe, not before. The waiting, the yearning, the searching are themselves part of the gift. For it is in longing that the heart deepens, and in patience that it becomes capable of holding what it could not bear before. Every heart carries a unique treasure. Some discover theirs through knowledge, others through service, others through love. There is no single path, for the divine has scattered his jewels in countless forms. To compare one's journey to another's is to miss the beauty of one's own. The treasure is always tailored to the soul that seeks it. The hidden treasure is not measured in gold or possessions, but in awakening. It is the realization that the beloved has never been absent, that the soul has always been rich. This discovery turns every breath into a jewel, every heartbeat into a pearl. Wealth no longer depends on the world, but on the recognition of presence. The most profound treasures are often revealed in moments of surrender. When the seeker ceases to demand and simply opens, the beloved discloses himself. In this yielding, the soul realizes that it was never the seeker who found the treasure. It was the treasure that revealed itself when the seeker became still enough to receive. In finding the treasure, the soul also discovers humility. For the treasure is not ours to possess, but ours to witness. We become keepers of a light too vast to own, carriers of a mystery too great to define. The mystic does not boast of discovery but bows before it, recognizing that the treasure is not an achievement but a gift. And so, the journey ends where it began, in the heart. The treasure sought in distant horizons was always near, hidden in the ordinary, waiting in the overlooked, shining in the self. Ibn Arabi calls this the return, the realization that there was never any separation, only a forgetting. To remember is to find, and to find is to know that the treasure has always been within. The soul does not end where the body ends. It is a journey that stretches beyond horizons, carrying the hidden treasure entrusted by the divine. Ibn Arabi reminds us, the closer we move to the truth within, the more the veils of illusion fall away. The secret of the soul is not something we borrow from books or inherit from others. It is a light we must uncover within ourselves. May this reminder guide you to turn inward, to listen to the whispers of your heart, and to walk the path where the hidden treasure becomes your own living reality.